Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So for this video, I will take you through probably one of my favourite collector's editions, and not only that, but from one of my favourite video game franchises of all time. And I'll literally spend like maybe once a month, a year, and just go through the entire series from start to finish, try and complete them, and hopefully play a few of the challenge maps as well, which I always fail at. I'm just not that great. But as you can see from the corner here, you can probably tell already what it's going to be, and it is for the Batman Arkham Origins Collector's Edition, and it is a pretty hefty looking box as well, and you get quite a variety of stuff inside too. You know, you've got the game disc, which is probably the most important thing. You get a steelbook, you get some nice dossiers of the villains you fight, you get an art book, and you do get a nice statue. And all of this, when it came out, was £100 retail, which I think is more than reasonable, especially when you compare it to video games now, which is crazy to think about because, you know, the standard game now goes for around £70. And most of the time, it's not even that worth it. You know, obviously, when it comes out, it'll have glitches, it'll be buggy, it'll be a bit of a downgrade graphically. And it just seems to be the norm now. You know, I never pre-order anymore. I'm just not a big fan of doing it because I just don't trust a lot of video game companies. To be honest, it's just you don't know what you're going to get. You know, it's a bit like a box of chocolates. But yeah, I mean, when this came out, the standard price for a standard game was about £40, which I don't think is too bad, even when you add inflation. You did get a kick out of it. I don't think it was glitchy on launch, and it did deliver what you're expecting, you know, especially from the gameplay trailer, which we saw, you know, back at E3, you know, around the time. And you know, the game itself, I think, wasn't very well received at the time. You know, the map was pretty repetitive. It was literally just a reskin of Arkham City, just with a bit more snow, and it was a little bit darker. But the story was fantastic, and I would even go far to say it is the best story we've had in the entire Arkham series. And that is saying a lot because, you know, you got quite a decent amount of stories. I'm not a big fan of Arkham Knight when it came to that. I mean, the gameplay was solid and everything, but the story I thought was kind of lacking. And probably a lot of people might agree with me, probably some won't. But, you know, it's what you come to expect when it comes to the series. You know, it's going to be a different variety of what you're going to get. And yeah, this one, I fell in love with it. It's got one of the best boss fights I think we've had in the entire series. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And I don't even think there was like a single bad boss fight either. Maybe Shiva, but that was kind of about it really. Everything else about it was just solid. And you know, you got a really interesting depiction of Bane, and rather than him just being like a bit of an idiot, like as you've seen in the rest of the games, he's actually pretty intelligent, probably a bit more than Batman at times. So you know, it did try to do something different, and I think it worked out pretty well considering it's the only game that is not done by Rocksteady. It's done by Warner Bros. Games, and I just love every single second of it. And you know, going back to collector's editions, you know, I just talked about the standard games. You know, those are about £70 now, but collector's editions, they have gone up as well. You know, there's been a few fairly reasonably priced ones. We've recently had Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which retail for about 175, and you got quite a decent amount of stuff with it. I mean, I probably would have paid that, but I was literally minutes away from adding it to my basket and it went out of stock. But you know, the scalpers have kind of brought up a lot of things, and it does make it difficult to buy stuff as a collector because they are literally on point. As soon as it goes up, it's gone pretty much. You know, as we saw with Halo, the Combat Evolved Collector's Edition, and it's kind of a shame, really, because you know it's just a bit of a shame, you know. But we've had to sort of buy stuff just in the hopes that we don't miss out. And I just burped. That wasn't part of the collecting, but that pretty much says it all about scalpers. Just burp at them. But yeah, it's just yeah. I don't know what the future is going to be for video games because they're not really making it a lot easier as well. And yeah, as I said, I just don't trust a lot of video games companies anymore. So that's the only thing. But I got this for I think it was £50, which I think is, you know, is half the price. So I'm hoping if I wait a few years, I can hopefully get Assassin's Creed for, you know, around that price. Maybe even, you know, it'd obviously be over 100, but if I can get it for less than 175, I will definitely pick it up. It just probably won't have the DLC in it. So that's the only thing. But yeah, you get the idea. So what I'm going to do is I'll take you through this, and it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts in the comments of what you think about the pricing of video games now. Do you agree with it? Do you think it's a bit greedy? And do you let me know? So let's get straight on the unboxing. Right, so as you can see, I've had to adjust the camera quite a bit because I can't actually fit anything in the frame. From the top bit it's high, from the sides it's actually pretty small. So it's kind of weird like that. So I'll take you through this. It's got a nice glossy box. You had the DLC for Deathstroke, which from what I remember was awesome. I don't think you can get that now. And you've got all the villains there, all the characters you fight in the game. You've got Batman himself. And yeah, this wasn't actually made by Rocksteady. This was made by Warner Bros. Games. As you can see there, which I don't think they really do a lot now. I think I remember Shadow of War, and that's kind of about it. The collector's edition, and again you've got this nice snow layout. I'll take you through the back in a sec actually, but you've got the other side there. You've got the top, so you've got the bat symbol with all the characters and everything that you can fight, like as I showed on the box. And you've got the bottom, which isn't really much. It's just sort of there to be sat on the shelf, but this will put something on there anyway. And yeah, your enemies will define you. You've got Black Mask's assassins, prowl the streets of Gotham City, a world of thirsts. I thought I said fists for some reason. Expand your arsenal. So it was a little bit smaller, I think, from compared to Arkham City, but it's still decent. And this is all the stuff you get inside. So you've got quite a good variety there. So I'll take you through the set itself, and it comes with a little sleeve, which is kind of nice. And on the box, you just got, again, Arkham Origins Collector's Edition. You got Joker there, which isn't really much of a spoiler, which I think if you've not actually heard the promotional stuff, you can kind of guess who was going to play. Collector's Edition, you've got Batman himself, which I think you saw in a lot of the cover art at the time. And again, it is nice and glossy, and you've got the top again. Now, as I showed off, so I don't really need to show more of that. So open the flaps up. Got the game itself, which is a nice embossed feature pack. It's not actually a steelbook technically, but we'll go through that in a sec. And you've got this little pocket here, which contains all your little bio and everything, which is kind of cool. Got the art book itself, and you've got the statue, which I will take out now, which I don't think has actually ever been touched, which is kind of cool. So I'll try and probably do that at the end of the video, but we'll go through everything else. So first up, you've got the future pack. You've got the little manual, which, when they actually did do manuals, it's quite a nice one as well. So it's just talking about age ratings, license agreement, and not really much else. I was kind of expecting it to have more, telling you about the controls, maybe different weapons, like something you get in Halo Reach, which I showed off recently. And yeah, that is the manual itself. You've got a few DLC, so Deathstroke challenge map, which I think is the only part of the Arkham series where you can actually play as Deathstroke. You've got the Nightfall pack, and you've got the first appearance Batman, which I think, from what I remember, you had different skins for different consoles. Xbox had quite a variety, and I wouldn't recommend trying these because it's going to be long out of print. So you've got the inside there of the future pack. You've got the game disc itself, a number of those. And of course you have got the design, and it's nice and embossed. It's actually really, really nice, and this is exclusive to the collector's edition. But yeah, as you can see, you've got some amazing detail on there. Pretty impressed with that, and it's nice and glossy as well. And that's the thing with a lot of Warner Bros stuff. I don't do a whole variety of steelbooks, say sort of DV sort of things. I'm just going by Shadow of Mordor, that sort of thing. So I think next we'll show off the little pocket. Contains all little bios. So warning, do not open until story is complete. So that is very, very true actually. It does give a few spoilers. The packet itself is kind of a matte finish. There's not really much variety to it. So Assassin's Agreement, so that's just talking about, signature. You probably could sign it, but I don't think I would take on Batman. I think that's kind of a bit of a mistake. So you got Bane there, which is probably the most accurate depiction I think we've had of Bane ever. He's usually portrayed as kind of an idiot, but in this one he's actually pretty intelligent. You've got Copperhead there. I think that was her name. But it never gave you much of understanding of what exactly she was. She just sort of drugged you a little bit, and that was kind of it. Got Killer Croc, which is a pretty cool boss fight. It's like sort of the beginning of the game. You got Deadshot there. You got Deathstroke, which is probably my favourite boss fight I think we've ever had in the series, apart from the Mr. Freeze one from Arkham City. It's still pretty cool. And I can't actually remember his name, Electrocutioner. So he doesn't really do much. I mean, if you played the game, you know what I'm talking about. And you got Firefly, who was actually a pretty cool little boss fight. And I think a lot of people were waiting for that. You got Shiva, who was not really much of a boss fight. She's just sort of part of the side missions. And yeah, that is the contract there. So Batman, one night to kill the Bat, payment 50 million, which I don't even think is even that worth it, to be honest. And there's nothing really on the back. It's just sort of very, you know, kind of bland, but it's still pretty nice. You got the art book, which is a nice hardback, as it should be. Got Batman there. So we'll go through it. So Arkham Origins art book. And warning, all hidden files accessible during reboot. Enter at your own risk. Got Jim Lee, who I've never actually heard of, but he obviously was a big part of the game. So it just sort of talks about all the stuff you get in the game, you know, different maps, stuff like that. You got the Bat Cave, the Bat Computer. You got the Bat Wing, which is pretty cool. And yeah, Blackgate, which I think is the only time we actually see it. I think there was like, sort of a thing for, I can't remember now, I think it was the PlayStation, what was it, Vita? I think it was a PlayStation Vita. You sort of had a little thing on that. And you know what was kind of interesting about this game is it sort of lent more into like the investigation sort of thing, which you've never actually really seen in the series. You could sort of rewind stuff and play it back and try and figure out what actually happened. And it's kind of a shame the series never really did much with that. Got the Mad Hatter, which is a pretty cool mission. Got Black Mask, Deathstroke, Deadshot, Bane, Electrocutioner, Copperhead, Firefly, Shiva, Anarchy, who never really made an appearance. He was just sort of in like one bit of the side missions, and that was kind of it. The Penguin, Robin, who, if I remember, Robin doesn't really have much to do with the game. Bob Gordon, Oracle, you've got James Gordon, the Joker, Mad Hatter, and he was quite an interesting character. Edward Nigma, so yeah, he's you know, he's a Riddler. He's been a big part of the series. Harlan Quinzel, and when I say that, I mean he just sort of gives you a bunch of trophies to try and find, and that's kind of this whole thing. It doesn't really do much. You've got Killer Croc there, Bane, the Red Hood, Batman again, and yeah, you got the grapple, the remote claw, which is kind of a cool design, zipline, disruptor, shot gloves, which is a kind of a cool feature, but you never saw it again in the series. You've got the explosive gel, blue grenade, which is pretty much just the ice grenade from Arkham City, and yeah, you've got a few variety of, you know, henchmen, storyboard art, cinematics. So you know, you are getting quite a lot on this, and I think it's quite a thick book as well. Joker's Funhouse. You've got the weapons that the goons actually hold, and goons means a completely different term now, but you know, you get the idea. Eric Holmes, and I can't remember his name. I think it was Loose Lips or something. It's been quite a while now, but yeah, it's actually pretty nice. And I would say, I reckon there's about 100 pages there. Also, that's the back of the book. But yeah, it's really nice, really nicely detailed, and yeah, it's quite a thick one as well. So the last thing, of course, is the statue, which of course I've saved the best for last. I'll move that disc carefully out of the way. And as I said, this has not actually been touched. So that's going to be the warning label, just to say, you know, don't let kids eat this. So it shouldn't be too difficult to take out. I'm going to try and be careful as well, because I don't want to damage this. You know, it's crazy to think this is not far off being 20 years old as well, which is insane to think about. But yeah, that is the statue, and I've got to admit, the detail is quite nice. Batman looks slightly off, just a tiny bit, but the detail on the Joker is pretty nice, especially the clothing. You've got the boots there, which are a bit clean. Got the little ripples in the trousers and everything, and Batman seems to be standing on a pipe or something. But yeah, the detailing is quite nice. You've got the back cape there, sort of little bits where it's moving about in the wind or just sort of staying in place. You've got Arkham Origins there. And yeah, got nice detailing on the bricks, nothing really on the back. And I've got to admit, I don't think Rocksteady or anyone who's actually worked on the Arkham series, I don't think they've actually done a bad statue at all. The Batarang that you got in Arkham Asylum, it wasn't bad. It just was a bit lackluster for what it should be. Got the detailing there of the Joker with his hair. It almost looks kind of bleached, which is kind of meant to be. And yeah, got some good detailing on the face there, as I said. And yeah, I'm quite impressed, especially on the clothing and everything. Face is a little bit hit or miss, but it's still pretty nice. And yeah, it just looks really, really good. So happy to have that. And I think at the time, I probably would have paid £100. I got this for much less. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy. And I'm glad I'm sort of gone through this. So yeah, that is the collector's edition of Batman Arkham Origins. And I hope you have enjoyed the video. So I will see you later.